What's up, losers? I am Luke, and this is Luke Loses. Now, when I say loser, I mean it with love. It's a term of endearment because we are losing the weight, we are losing the unhealthy lifestyle, and we are losing that negative image we have for ourselves. Please remember that I don't have any fitness or nutrition education. Everything I talk about here is from asking people questions, searching the internet, and my own personal experience. I have a website set up. It is lukeloses.card.co. That's got all my social media platforms as well as other locations you can find this podcast. Now, before we get into today's episode, I do have a couple announcements I'd like to make. My first guest, Adam, and my future guest, Corey, and I have come together and decided to create a weight loss support group on Facebook. It's called Trimming the Fat Weight Loss Support. All three of us have our own platform. I have the podcast and they have YouTube and Facebook. We did a little talking and we decided to come together and use it as a way to keep ourselves accountable as well as other people. So the three of us are on the same journey. We are just at different locations of that journey. It's also going to be used as a place where the three of us can get into a video conversation and discuss different topics. The link to that group will be in the description of this episode. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you about was I have recently switched podcast host. So I am now on Spreaker, which is a podcast app and website you can go to listen to the show. I'm still on all the other locations, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, but one thing I really like about Spreaker is there is a chat option. So as you listen to the episode, you can send me comments. I really look forward to using that feature with the people that listen to this. And the link to that will also be in the show notes. So let's get into today's episode. All right, so welcome to Luke Loses. I hope everyone's doing well, and thank you for tuning in. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking about food addiction. Food addiction is a behavioral addiction, and it's defined as compulsive consumption of food to activate the reward system of the brain. Food can release dopamine. So dopamine is known as the feel-good neurotransmitter. It's a chemical that carries information between neurons. So that release of dopamine, it's the same thing that happens to people who are addicted to shopping, gambling, drugs, and alcohol. So food addiction isn't listed as a disorder or a disease, but there are disorders and diseases that come along with food addiction, such as binging and obesity. A lot of food addicts are hedonic eaters versus homeostatic eaters, which homeostatic is eating for energy and your caloric need. Hedonic is eating for pleasure despite the consequences. Now, what are some ways that you can figure out if you are a food addict? I did a little research, and there is a Food Addiction Institute. They are advocates for the acceptance of food addiction. They also have a quiz that you can take that's got some questions, yes or no, and I will link the quiz in the show notes to this episode. So here are some things, according to them, that you can be on the lookout for. 1, are you unable to stop eating? For me, I was definitely unable to stop eating. For me, I would eat and eat until all the food was gone or I felt like I was being ripped apart. Not full, not stuffed even, but disgusted. And I would even keep going after that if there was food available. 2, do you feel guilty about what you're eating but continue? Again, I mentioned this in a previous episode. I believe it was binge eating. If you haven't listened to that one, please go check that out. I really like that episode. I refer to an angel and a devil on my shoulder. The angel's telling me, you need to stop. This isn't good. You're going to be miserable. But the devil's yelling at me saying, keep going. We love this. You're going to feel great. Do you make excuses to eat? Again, yes, I used to, this is a reason to celebrate. Whether it's, hey, I want to take the kids out, which isn't a bad thing. Same thing with a date. Let's go on a date, hon. And that was just a reason to go to the buffet, especially the casino buffet, where they've got everything. I remember the last time I went to the casino buffet with my wife, I had 4 creme brulees. And I was encouraging my wife to eat more because they're so good. Do you ever hide eating? Oh, yeah. I would go to the store to pick up dinner for the family, and I would stop at McDonald's or wherever and order me food, eat it all up, and then get rid of the evidence so I could still eat when I got home. I used to do that all the time. Do you have cravings when you're full? Again, I could be eating dinner thinking about what can I eat next. Do you ever eat more than intended but still continue to eat? I would go until I couldn't go anymore. And these are just a few of the signs that you may be a food addict. And if you've answered yes to more than one of these, it might be something that you should look into more. One question that I get asked is it certain foods that you're addicted to? Real quick, one thing that I'd like to touch on for me with my food addiction and my binge eating and overeating. For me, it went binge, guilt, withdrawal, crave, and repeat every day. And it wasn't certain foods. It was any food. I love eating anything, but some foods do set off triggers more than others. The more sugar, fat, salt, and carbs, the more they are considered addictive foods. Chips, ice cream, French fries, chocolate, all of those are in the top 10 list of addicted foods, and I believe pizza is at the number 1 spot for most addictive food. Foods that are high in those fat, sugar, salt, and carbs, they are usually low in fiber, and your body will consume them fast, meaning they burn quick, so you'll get hungry faster. They taste good, and they trigger pleasure centers in our brain. It doesn't help how food has evolved over the years. Portion sizes are huge. There's been times where my wife and I have went out to dinner and shared a plate. And the ease of getting food. I remember as a kid, the only thing you could get ordered in around us, they didn't come to our house, but around us was pizza. And now with all the apps, it's just a couple pushes on your phone away and you can get anything you want whenever you want. Also, those delicious fast food meals, they are designed to taste good, but also to make you crave more. So you keep coming back. I plan on doing an episode all about that because there's so much to get into. Now, this is a lot to take in, but there are some things that can help you with food addiction. One, ask yourself, am I really hungry, or am I just craving or bored, or am I just wanting to eat? They recommend to create a food diary. Seeing what you're eating can help you not overdo it. Also, be mindful and self-aware to write out those cravings. But if you must, get a small amount, or a better option would be to make it at home. If you're craving a double cheeseburger from McDonald's, get the stuff, make it at home. It's going to taste good, and it's going to be nowhere near as bad for you as the junk food that you want. Try to replace the unhealthy food and choices with healthy options. And remember, the less the processed the food is, the better it is for you. The further food gets away from nature, the more unhealthy it is for you. So that's something to keep in mind. Again, I say it in almost every episode, but find a support group. Facebook is awesome. There's tons of options out there where you can hold yourself accountable. If you're struggling, you can make a post. If you have questions, make a post. If you're going to binge eat or something, make a post. That's what I do. And you can keep yourself accountable as well as inspire others, which is awesome. Another thing is find a counselor or a therapist that specializes in issues with food. Just because you see a therapist doesn't mean you're crazy or something's wrong with you. It's just another outlet to keep yourself going in the right direction. One thing I recommend is taking all this slow. Don't make the dramatic changes to different things, because you may not have the same type of withdrawal as you would from drugs, but you get a lot of the same feelings with irritability or pain, sweats, whatever the case may be. it is very similar. So if you take it slow and change small things day by day or week by week, it's not going to be such a dramatic change. And another thing is, if you change too much, it may scare you off and you can go back to your old ways. So if you're going to try to change these things, you will struggle. It's not going to be easy. But I believe in you. If I can make it this far, anybody can. And remember, I'm here for you. I started this podcast to hold myself accountable and to reach others who are struggling with the same issues. One thing for me was I thought I was alone in this. I thought I was weird, and I thought my overeating and all that was just something wrong with me. Doing this podcast and doing the research that I have been, there's so many people like me, and we are not alone. There's always somebody who is going through it or has gone through it that can help you. If you ever need me, feel free to message me or comment, whatever. I will reach out to you as soon as I can. If I'm not available, these podcasts are. And again, I started these to hold myself accountable, and hopefully they can help you. So good luck, and remember, you are not alone. For today's weigh-in, I am a little nervous. I have been going to the gym, and my nutritionist asked me to change some things up within my diet. So I have been eating a lot more carbs. I'm just going to get on it and see where we're at. So the scale says 370 pounds. So again, that is a 1 pound increase from last week. I'm definitely not thrilled with that. The past 2 weeks I have gained, but it is only 2 pounds, so I shouldn't be too upset about it. I did change up my diet some to add more carbs, and as well as going to the gym more than I was. When you start exercising, you tear your muscles, and that will hold more water weight. So I'm hoping it's water weight, but I don't know. It's just more for me to work. Next week, I promise I'm going to be a loss. I can feel it. I know I will. I'm not going to let this take me down. So that's it. That is my take on food addiction. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a review. One thing I do ask that would help me more than anything is if you know somebody struggling with these issues, body issues, food addiction, binge eating, whatever, anything I talk about here, send them my way or even send them a link to the podcast. Again, my website is lukeloses.card.co. That is CARRD.co. That's got all my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, as well as other platforms you can find this podcast. Reach out to me if you've got topic ideas, concerns, tips on anything, or if you just want to talk, do an outreach. You can find my email on my website. You can message me on Instagram or Facebook, wherever. One more time, I'll mention the Facebook group, Trimming the Fat, Weight Loss Support. Corey, Adam, and myself, we've got our links to our platforms, YouTube and Facebook. Send an invite in there. Share your stories. Ask your questions. We definitely look forward to hearing from you. As always, do the work, trust the process, and I will see you next week.